Figured I was ready. Says I'm live. Hello, hello. This is that place where I need to yield. All right. Doubting the narrative. Anybody want to take a guess when the first person doubted the narrative? Anyone? Anyone? Bueller? 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 Who was the first person to doubt the narrative? Has doubting the narrative been kind of a recurring theme in mankind? I would say yes. And if you don't know who the first person to doubt the narrative was, it was a she. Now that's not to put all the blame at all. It's not an inherently female thing. Order was disrupted. Proper order was disrupted following the first lie. You know, people make fun of the center of the garden thing. People are like, they had to look at it all the time, and it was just kind of in their face, and yeah. I want you to, in another context, think about it in a different way. What if it was at the edge, or randomly placed, not at the edge, between the center and the edge, in the meat of the garden, or whatever, I don't know. But the fact that it was in the center helped identify it as if. And that is how you should look at that situation. Not by making fun of it being right in their face. It's the fact that it was so carefully identified. So people have been doubting the narrative since the beginning of time, since Adam and Eve. I'm not saying that we ought to believe all things. Obviously, because that's, it's just contradictory to what the premise is. 5. So, here's what I am saying. I'm saying that there's been a recurring theme of doubting the narrative since the beginning of time. Before the fall. Doubt the narrative. What was the narrative, you might ask? Well, the narrative was, here's every kind of food on the planet. All you have to do is pluck it. You can have everything except for this thing. This one thing. Here, look, I put it in the center of the garden so you wouldn't mistake it. It's not like, oh, well, it was next to the apple tree and I just accidentally, it was in the center of the garden. Easily recognizable. It was by design. By the way, just a little history lesson for those who don't know. Talking about, I can't show you my phone because it's currently being used. The little apple symbol, an apple, it was not an apple. It wasn't a pomegranate. It wasn't a banana. Because it could have been any of those things. It could have been an orange. It could have been a palakabru. Maybe that was the name of the fruit. The fruit was literally called the fruit from the tree of knowledge of good and evil. That was the name of the fruit. In the Hebrew, it is the word pari. That is the word for the category of fruit. It's the word fruit. It's not a word for a fruit. It is a word for fruit. Too much fruit talk. So the first narrative, eat all this stuff. It's amazing. You don't even have to work for it. It's just there for you. Everything. Good to go. Don't eat that. Okay? You won't die if you eat that. You won't surely die. I mean, surely you won't surely die. It's like the word actually. You won't actually die. Like, you're not just gonna actually die. Actually. Yeah, be cautious of people that speak that way. So, what's another time in mid-history, early history, where we were doubting the narrative? Well, skip forward a few thousand years. Yeah, I said that. A few thousand, not millions. I sure did. I'll explain that too. Aha! Perfect. This is the kind of stream I should explain that on. I will do so. It'll be buried within the existence of this stream. Alright, so check this out. A few thousand years later, this man named Jesus was born, he lived, led a ministry, he was crucified, he was buried for 3 days, and he rose again. How soon after that event were people doubting the narrative? How soon after the disciples and the people that were writing the Bible, the New Testament, how soon after they died were people doubting everything? They happened to get a little meeting together to punch a certain Aryan heretic in the face. Yeah, Santa Claus might have been there. He might have punched a dude in the nose. It might have happened. It might not have happened. But there was people doubting the divinity of Jesus. Slithering in. Not too shortly after everybody had died. An opportune moment, might you say? Well, are there other times in history where important events have been completely rewritten, whitewashed, removed from the history books? Do we have any other moments in time? Significant events that probably shouldn't be forgotten. Probably should be learned from. Not forgotten. Not rewritten. Not destroyed. Well, Yes. Think of any great war and little ones. What did they do in wartime? How many I've mentioned this before, but it's important to remember this. How many libraries were raided? How many libraries were set on fire? How many statues? How many pieces of artwork? How many books? Stolen, destroyed, raided. In a lot of ways, it's amazing that we have anything at all from history. Because there has always been a force trying to destroy history, trying to destroy the narrative, trying to destroy anyone's hope in the truth. That's what this is all about. It's about a certain agenda, multi-millennial agenda to destroy truth. Make us doubt. It's all about doubt. Well, but doubt could be a good thing. Scrutiny, my friends. Scrutiny can be a good thing. Doubt might have its place. I'd venture to say that doubt is not ideal. Critical thinking is. Scrutinizing the veracity of something. That's valuable. Timing. I want you to think about timing. So, these events, they wait until eyewitnesses are easily discredited or non-existent before doubting the narrative. It's really hard to doubt the narrative of something that still has hundreds, thousands, millions of eyewitnesses. There were literally thousands of eyewitnesses to the resurrection. Not the moment, but the resurrected Jesus. Thousands of eyewitnesses. But what does it mean? If that was the case, why wasn't... because of the topic of this discussion. Because of the topic of this discussion. Doubt. And the timing of this doubt, guys. It's ridiculous. It's so obvious. The patterns are obvious if you look. So I asked some family members, said, hey, what's your earliest recollection of folks identifying the moon landing as a hoax? How early do you recognize that as being a thing, being talked about? Well, how early do you think it was, guys? Do some research. I did. Well, I don't think we would have done nearly as much research if it weren't for individuals themselves saying that, that were personally involved, saying that it didn't happen. Well, I think we can admit that it would be a crime for that whole thing to be a lie. And if that's the case, we need a Columbo. a legit, no. Not a Sherlock. He's a magician. Sherlock is magical. He's not even realistic. Columbo. That's the man we're looking for. Poirot is good too. I'm not going to knock Poirot, but Columbo was the man, and probably the greatest detective ever. Just one more thing. Shout out to Peter Falk and Columbo. All right. Timing. Look it up. When was the beginnings of this doubt? When did it happen? I'm wondering if notifications went out at all for this one. Just curious. It's no big deal. So again, scrutiny. What does scrutiny mean? Scrutiny means that you're not accepting everything at face value, and you're not accepting everything at face value. So let me give you an example. Moon landing, 1960s. Moon landing doubt, 1990s. Well, there's a question, and there's a crime, potential, alleged crime. There's some investigation. Well, if you have seen Columbo, you will know that sometimes there is a motive. Sometimes there's a motive behind the people doing the accusation. Did you ever stop to think that there might be some type of modern motive to cause people to doubt the moon landing? Is there any chance at all that there's some type of conspiracy to get people to doubt the moon landing? What's the motive? And what do they have to gain? Obviously, those are similar questions, but I suggest that they're not identical. Those are questions I cannot answer, but they're questions that are worth answering. What do these people, such as NASA scientist, head NASA scientist claims, man that walked on the moon claims, what would they have to gain? What would they have to gain? Hypothetically, let's say there was such a thing as damages for a false narrative. So let's just say this is like a different alternative reality. We went to the moon, we walked on the moon, not me, but you know. We lived decades. We claim that the whole moon landing was fake. We get a collaboration, a conspiracy going on that the moon landing was fake. It's proved in the court of law that the moon landing never happened, even though it actually did. And then, after getting it proved in the court of law, Supreme Court, whatever, that the moon landing was all fake, the descendants, the ancestors, the direct immediate family receive billions of dollars in compensation for having to live a false narrative. It's hypothetical. get it. It's not a perfect hypothesis. I don't claim for it to be. But I think you should question these things. I think you should ask, what's the motive? What was the motive then? What was the motive now? What was the motive for it to happen and for it to be the best cover-up in the history of mankind? Or, what's the motive to pretend it never happened? What is to gain? Well, back to my little Truman Show hypothesis, I would say, is it possible that there are certain people that want to prevent our expansion? Is it possible? I don't know, guys. I don't know. It's worth asking the question. It really is. It really is. Listen, be a discerning person. Ask good questions. But just because somebody says, oh, that never happened, don't just doubt that that thing might not have happened. I guarantee, it's a strong word, I'll downgrade. I strongly suspect that one day there will be people that claim that there was never even 2 towers. There wasn't even 2 towers. That's what people will one day claim. I suggest I strongly suspect that will happen in our lifetime. In our lifetime. Okay? And even more so after. Okay? Well, what basis do you say such a thing? Look at history. Look at all of the other blatantly observed events and then doubt that follows upon the soon to expire eyewitnesses. I would like to conclude with this thought. Well, how does such a thing happen, and why does it keep happening? Well, besides the quick and easy answer of the devil, I want you to consider this. Who's doing the doubting? It's the next generation, guys. It's the next generation. Sometimes the second generation. They doubt their parents. They doubt their grandparents. When a child goes through puberty and is in their teenage years, everything that their parent says is suspect. Why? Well, because somehow, some way, we have naturally, within our minds, within our abilities, we have the natural ability to identify hypocrisy. Somehow, some way, we have a natural ability to identify hypocrisy. And you'll notice it. If you have children, you'll notice a 4-year-old literally call you out. Say, we're not allowed to do that. They'll literally tell you, that's not how all kids sound, obviously, but they'll literally say the thing that you said was a rule, and they'll call you out on it if you're the one breaking your rule. That is not taught. That is something naturally within us. And it's because of the constant disappointment that we experience as children, because parents are not perfect, that affords the opportunity for a person to doubt everything. A parent does the whole Santa Claus, Tooth Fairy thing, and then also teaches about Jesus. And then the kid goes, well, if that was a lie, why isn't everything else a lie? When we blend lies with truth, guys, the result is not pretty. Was the lie? What was the secret? What did we hide? I say it's quite likely we went to the moon. But what was the lie? What was the lie? It's a question worth answering. I will leave you with this. It is better to put your trust in God than to put your trust in man. Well, you can't just leave off with that. I mean, we need to know how you put your trust in God. I mean, how do you do that? How do you put your trust in God? That is a fantastic question. Well, you listen to him by reading his words. Okay? You listen to him by reading his words. You become a lover of truth. That is how you trust. And you pursue a life of obedience. Well, what am I being obedient to? The truth. Be obedient to the truth. And the law. It's the thing that frees us more than anything else. I need to schedule a Q&A because I noticed that there's some good folks out there with good ideas, but I'll have to like super chat it out. Make sure that a large enough crowd is there to participate. Well, I had a couple of folks check out my earlier video. It's an important topic. This has been a ghost town. That's okay. It's okay. It's an important topic. I hope it was valuable to you. I hope you ask questions. Put the questions in the comments section. And we might not arrive anywhere, but the journey will be great as long as we continue to love what is true, and love what is right, and love what is good. Selbstverständlich. It's the best German I can do.